So now to continue, Jesus actually calming the storm. Matthew 8:26. And he says to them, "Why are you fearful, O you of little faith?" So he makes his statement. Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was calm. Why are you fearful? Mark 4:39. And he arose and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." The wind ceased and there was great calm. And then he said to them, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" So that's very different. Luke 8:24. They awoke him. Then he arose and rebuked the wind and the raging of the water, and they ceased and there was calm. And he said to them, "Where is your faith?" Okay, so Mark and Luke both have him responding to the disciples after he calms the storm. Matthew's the only one that has it before, and he says to them, "Why are you so fearful, O you of little faith?" Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was calm. This is one situation where I usually would go with Mark and Luke, but I feel awkward about that because I find it hard to believe that Matthew, who was here, he was there in that scenario, he was in the boat. I find it hard to believe that he would forget the order of how things happen, that he would forget thinking he's going to die, and then before Jesus actually calms the storm, he takes the time to actually chastise them and say, "Oh, you of little faith." Then calm the storm. I think that every moment, especially if you think you're going to die, every moment that goes by is more terror, and you're going to remember that Jesus took the few seconds it said to make that statement instead of calming the sea first and then chastising them. But I think I might still go with Mark and Luke anyway. Yeah, I really don't know with this one. Mark is the only one that includes Jesus' statement to the sea, "Peace, be still," and there was a great calm. So I'm definitely going to have that before he rebukes the storm. But still, that would leave room. He could, even before that, he could have said, as it records in Matthew, "Why are you so fearful, O you of little faith?" He arose, rebuked the winds with those words, and there was a great calm. And then they asked amongst themselves, "What manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey?" I know Matthew usually puts things in whatever order would most convince you of something, like that he fulfilled a certain prophecy. Well, I guess that's just got to be the answer again. The reason why he records things differently is just to prove a point, not necessarily in order of events. So yeah, I'm just still going to go with Mark and Luke. So Mark says, "And he arose and rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, Peace, be still." So first he arose. Matthew says, and he says to them, skip that. Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea. So I would go right to that. Then he arose and rebuked the winds. Mark, and he arose and rebuked the winds. Luke, then he arose and rebuked the wind. Okay, so I'm just going to go with that. I'll go with the order of Mark and Luke. Then he arose and rebuked the wind. And he arose and rebuked the wind. Or then. Okay, so Matthew and Luke both say, then he arose. I feel inclined to go with and, because it just seems like a faster transition between them crying out to him for help and he got up and went. Or just saying they cried out, then he got up. I don't know, it seems like a more immediate response. Yeah, I want to put and he arose, and then after he's done calming the storm, then he said, where is your faith? And he said to them. Matthew, and he says that. Okay, but that's backwards. Each one of these, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, have it, and he said to them, instead of then he said to them. So I can't reverse it, so I'll just go with what I don't like. Then he arose, rebuked the winds, and said to them what he said. So then is Matthew and Luke. So that's orange. He arose and rebuked the winds. Luke. Then he arose and rebuked the wind. Mark. He arose and rebuked the wind. So all this is the same, except for wind at the end. It's winds plural in Matthew. Then he arose and rebuked the wind, and I think I will say winds, because there's more than one wind in the storm. A great storm of wind and tempest in the sea. Although in Mark it says the wind ceased and there was a great calm, singular. Matthew rebuked the winds. There's no secondary mention of wind. Luke, wind on the lake. Rebuked the wind. Okay, so it's singular. I'll keep it singular then. So rebuked the wind and the sea in Matthew. And the sea. Mark. So it's wind and said to the sea. So I'll have that. Luke, the wind and the raging of the water. So I'll have that. The raging of the water. So he rebuked the wind and the rage of the water and said to the sea. So I'll have raging of the water next. This is only Luke and the raging of the water. And they ceased. Mark and said to the sea. Peace be still, and the wind ceased. Matthew rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. So from Mark, and said to the sea. And said to the sea. Only Mark mentions this statement. Peace be still. Mark continues, and the wind ceased. Matthew, rebuked the winds and sea. Oh, you know what? I can have and the sea is also from Matthew. Mark and the sea. Luke continues, and they ceased, and there was a calm. Mark, and the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. So more explanation in Mark. Matthew, and there was a great calm. So Mark has the most wording. I'll go with that then. Luke, and they ceased. Mark, the wind ceased. So I'll have the wind from Mark and then ceased from both. Mark and Luke, dark yellow. And Mark, the wind. Now back to both ceased. Mark, and there was a great calm. Matthew, and there was a great calm. Luke, and there was a calm. So great is the only one that's not in Luke. All the rest of it's all three. And there was a great is Matthew, Mark, all three, calm. And there was a great calm. Matthew continues, but the men marveled. Mark, and he said, oh, that's right. I have to go into his response to them now. And he said to them, why are you so fearful? So skipping back to earlier in Matthew, and he says to them. So and he said or and he says. What does Luke say? And he said. Okay, so I'll go with that. Otherwise, it's all the same. And he, Mark Luke, said to them. That's the same, all three. To them.